of the, uh, that's okay. We all got that message, I think. I'm president of the Southern California chapter, so I'm out west. If you just got the message, this event is being recorded, so you don't have to take detailed notes. In a follow-up message, once we get this posted on YouTube, Alexis will send out the link for the recording to everybody, so you'll have that. Just a few comments. A key focus for us in the Southern California RAA chapter is coaching and mentoring, and we've been spending a lot of time with current students as well as alumni on career search, job advice, and so on. And I've been very thankful that Linjing and Jeffrey have been great anytime I've referred someone to them that's looking for advice in software, some software type of role. So they've been fantastic about that. And then came forward and suggested this event tonight of, hey, let's make it real and talk a little bit about what it's like for a role or job in software. So I can't thank them enough for offering to do this event. And of course, Philip teaming with us on this from CCPD to share his perspective. So really, really appreciative of all that. Again, it's largely a Q&A format. We did receive questions in advance, so we'll certainly get to those. And I encourage you just to raise your hand and ask a question live or send it via chat, and we'll try to get to all of them as we can in the time we have. Okay? So with that, I guess Linjing, Philip, Jeffrey, if you could provide brief intros, maybe Philip first, then Linjing, then Jeffrey, and then Jeffrey will lead us into the conversation.
Sure. Thanks, Jim. Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Bruce. I am the Assistant Vice Provost for Experiential Learning, and I'm also the Director of the Center for Career and Professional Development. So I'm here to help everybody get jobs, keep jobs, transition jobs, do whatever we can at RPI to support you in all of that.
Okay, Linjing.
All right. My name is Linjing Wen. You can also call me LJ. I've been working in the tech industries for about 4 years now. I mainly work for AWS consulting partner companies. So I help customers migrate to AWS and use AWS services, increase the footprint in the cloud infrastructure. So recently, I pivot into the Gen AI field. So I help companies deploy the Gen AI apps to their development environment or the production environment. So I do see a lot of movement. I'm excited to share my learnings with you tonight. On the side, I also trying to build a community in the SoCal region, mainly to serve entrepreneurs. So if you are interested in entrepreneurship, you can also connect with me. Thank you, and hand it over to Jeffrey.
And Linjing, class of 2013, MBA, right, from RPI.
Yes.
But don't be fooled. You're a Scrum Master, I think, and other things deep in software and in the field.
Yes.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Jeffrey Wen. I'm also the class of 2013 from RPI, and I majored in computer engineering. And it was back in college when I met my wife here. And so we were college sweethearts. Since then, I've just been on a journey of software engineering. So it's been a long time now, since 2013. I started this journey thinking that it was something that I wasn't going to like. Thinking just staring in front of a computer coding all day long. That is far from the truth. And the work is much more entertaining than I originally had anticipated. And so some of those learnings I would love to share with you guys today. And so with that being said, I do have some questions for you guys. And if you guys want to react or like raise your hand or something, let me know. I just want to get a vibe of the current participants in the chat. So the first thing I want to ask is just, is everyone using AI to some capacity right now in their life?
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now with
Jeffrey,
yes.
I'll jump in and say yes, but using it cautiously. In the world I work in, business consulting, that's just ongoing question of reliability for that sort of thing, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so another question I want to understand where people are at is, with this ever-evolving technology of AI, do people start to feel like they're falling behind? And it becomes harder and harder to catch up because technology is moving faster than ever. Okay. And then I'll ask just one more question. So probably many of you have probably mastered some type of skill, maybe on some particular platform, on some software, some type of framework. You mastered some type of skill. But does anyone fear that that's becoming obsolete with the evolution of AI? And then now you have to pivot once again. Okay. Yeah. Same people are saying, yep, AI is easy to use. I don't understand LLMs or SLMs. Mostly no. AI is a tool. Seeing this in testing and validation to an extent. Skills are still applicable. Yes. Yeah. So those are some really great responses. And so I just wanted to get a vibe of the participants, because I just want to state that essentially, if you're doing your job today the same way that you did it a year ago, that is a problem. And so using AI over the past even couple of years, it's not considered cheating. It's basically an expectation now that you use it. Now, I understand that maybe from an educational perspective, you could consider it cheating. However, you do want to use it ethically from an educational perspective to make sure that you understand the why and not just the what. And so understanding the why is going to help you get further whenever the next evolution of technology comes along, or as AI evolves more and more. So those are some of my opening remarks there. So let's see here. So Jim and Philip, are you guys okay with hopping straight into the questions that were submitted?
Yeah, that makes sense. And again, a reminder for the group, some people sent questions in advance, so we're going to hit those first, and then that'll give you time also to tee up additional questions. So that'd be great, Jeffrey.
Sure. So what I'll do is I'll read off each question. I'll say what I think about them, and then if anyone else wants to hop in as well, just feel free. So the first question is, any advice on navigating this area with AI now in the picture? It seems that with software as a service and software as a medical device, there can be a large number of platforms one can gain expertise in, such as Viva or Salesforce. So is there an overarching skill or software that feels secure? I know many who have specialized in a software that was then phased out. So that's the question. I would say that yes, that has happened. Like I've been in this industry since 2013. I've learned plenty of tools and frameworks and even mindset shifts in the technology world that have most certainly phased out. But most importantly, what you want to learn is you still want to learn those tools and techniques to a very deep and very deep level, because you still want to approach it with this like a T-shaped approach, where you generally know a lot, right, the horizontal way, but then you also want to understand how something works very deeply, which is the vertical one. So you want to become more like a T-shaped, and simultaneously too, you want to use AI as an accelerator, right? The people who think that AI is a replacement is already thinking about it in the wrong mindset. And the last thing I'll say about this is whatever platform, software, framework that you may be using or mastering right now, you want to leverage this platform agnostic thinking. So understand what these tools are meant to solve, and then you can transfer that knowledge to the next generation of tools, whatever that may be in the coming decades. So again, the important thing you want to focus on is all these are just tools. Just like someone, as Rich Smith has said in the chat, AI is just a tool. All these tools accomplish something. Understand what it's trying to solve for your life, for your business, and then whatever you learn in that process is what's going to carry you furthest. So I'll stop there and see if Linjing or does anyone else want to hop in and chime into this question.
Jeffrey,
Yeah,
I have a follow-up. Lingjing, go ahead, but I have a follow-up to one of the things you said. Please go ahead, Lingjing.
Oh yeah, so I can add my perspective. As I mentioned to Phillips a few days ago, so there are several levels of AI. On the media, you see like a lot of media reporting about AI being a god, like dominate our life. So that's like AGI level. And then on the other hand, you have your grandma probably ask ChatGPT, what does dripping mean? So that's like a grandma level. But in between, there are many movements. There are many levels. On the application side, a lot of things will be AI will gradually emerge, and then you'll see a lot of AI agents popping up in all kinds of apps. So the old way of writing apps will gradually replace. They will need people to generate more AI native apps. So there will be a lot of movements on the application layer. So yeah, I see that it's actually creating a lot of opportunities. So for people to work out in this to jump on this wagon. So the only thing in this universe that is not changing is changing. So I think we need to embrace the changing part of the fact. I would say that don't be scared or don't worry too much. Like a job obsolete won't happen overnight. So you still can understand why certain parts doesn't will gradually fade away, so that you understand why the new changing is great for you. So you can embrace it and then evolve yourself, merge with that trend. So that would be my advice.
Great. Yeah, Jeffrey, just a question to the comment you made. That I like the T concept, right? So you got to understand a lot of things and know where to be deep. Is that what you're, if I think about, I'm a software engineer or aspiring software engineer, it's difficult to be an expert in every application, every software and everything. Are you suggesting you need enough knowledge in these things, but need to know where you have to have deep expertise based on career path, job, or can you elaborate on that a little bit? And maybe I'm not
Yeah.
reading yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the tech industry, the most basic thing, I guess I'll say the most common thing that I've seen, right? There's front end engineers that develop things that people can see in the front, and then there's back end engineers that do the business logic and the code will run the back that no one sees. So that's a very common example with front end and back end. Now those are two separate career paths, but there's also a third career path, believe it or not. It's called full stack, where you know both the front and the back simultaneously. Now, becoming T-shaped is sort of like becoming full stack, where you know both the front and the back. But at the end of the day, it is still valuable to dive deep into either the front end or the back end. You should be better in one or the other, or maybe you have more interest towards one side versus the other. And that's what will help you gain that expertise and become that subject matter expert in your field, that you become that go-to person.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I was curious about the question if this came from a student. So what I would say is getting into the company because you are an expert in one of these things is your first step. So LJ and Jeffrey, there must have been some skill you learned back in 2013 that got you your first job, that got you into the company, but you didn't just stay using that skill, right? Like you did things on the job. You kept learning new things and stuff like that. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's okay for a student to specialize in Salesforce, for example, right now, because that's going to get you in the door at the company. The better you are at it, the more likely you are to get that first job. It's just from there, you don't want to stop learning. So those people that had things phased out, they got a degree and learned how to do Java. Well, now AI does Java for you. So if they haven't learned anything else in that time since they got that first job, that's the people that are getting phased out. But as LJ said, that doesn't happen overnight. So you should be able to continue to learn and gain those new skills.
I want to say something about AI does Java now, because I mean, my job right now is building Java microservices that run in Kubernetes in the cloud. And my experience with AI is that it's really good at at kind of garbage work, like anything tedious, like you need to look up something in the manual, you don't remember the exact right formula to use some library. It'll just write that stuff for you. Every now and then, especially like multi-threaded, like thread safe code, like it just can't do it, like at least so far. Maybe eventually it will be. But I think languages are just a tool also, so are libraries. And I would say you still need to understand like what the code is doing. You still need occasionally to be able to write code and fix code, um, and understand how the system behaves end to end. And AI definitely helps with that. I've definitely, brought up like somebody else's microservice, like in the source repository, and asked AI, like, explain to me exactly how this method works, include like all of the methods that it calls, and it thinks for a bit and it explains it exactly in English and makes it really easy to figure out like what other people's code does and come up to speed on it. But at the end of the day, like it's up to you as the software developer to get the code right. You can use AI to help write it. It often gets things right, not all the time. And then you have to figure out like what data structures you want to use. And like to me, working with AI, at least up until now, has kind of felt a little bit like buddy coding with a junior engineer. Somebody who's like very enthusiastic but kind of doesn't know everything. And they churn out a bunch of code, and then you have to go through it and decide like if you like it or not, or if you want to improve it. Um, so I don't think like, at least in my opinion, like the actual programming language skills are obsolete yet. I would also say like as a backend developer, like I would say like the things that are maybe transferable skills is like maybe like understand like networking concepts, like how some of the cloud platform as a service services work, like queues and databases, especially like when to use like SQL databases, when to use like NoSQL database, um, and understand like how consistency and ACID works, like for those kinds of things. And then understand how to build microservices. Like all those skills are transferable. But you are right. Like uh, even in my current company, I've had to switch. I started on a first project was in Scala. Thank God I'm done with that. The second project was in Python. Now I'm in Java. There's just all kinds of different languages that you have to pick up, and I would say like AI helps a lot. Also, like our company has a contract with Pluralsight, and I've definitely used that at times. Like when I didn't know Python when I had to start working on it, and I took like a few Python classes in Pluralsight, and that got me up to speed in a few months. That was super helpful. So just yeah, being flexible. I think like still understanding the fundamentals of coding, and then like sort of the basics of like cloud native software development. Like all those things, if you're a back end person, are like really helpful. Also, like thread safe coding, that's really important. Um, yeah, anyway, I think that's all I got. I'm rambling now.
Great. Thanks, Rich. Great comments.
Let's see. Looks like we got Cameron, his hand raised.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just figured I'd scratch Bruce's itch here and say I'm the one who raised the question. I am not a recent grad, but I have been in the tech industry for a couple years now. I was class of 2015 with RPI, so um, I got into coding through a couple of contract jobs. As I'd mentioned with Viva, I have a white belt certificate. So it's really, really appreciate all the input from everybody here. I think it makes a lot of sense, know the fundamentals. The T factor is something I've heard many times before. So for me, it was building that depth in, Viva and also validation, process analysis, system architecture. So now as I see, Gen AI and AI coming in, it's saying, okay, this feels like another place to build depth into, but definitely, finding that way to pivot and take the soft skills that I've built. And it sounds like, you have the fundamentals that gives you a great leg up. So definitely refining those and finding the ways to translate these new languages in the modern setting seems like the path forward.
Absolutely. The more intelligent an individual is, the more you will get out of AI. AI will sometimes give you one way, but I'm sure many of us have experienced it where you said, well, how about this other way? And then they will reply saying, you're right. Let me try this way. Like this looks pretty good. So the more an individual knows, the more you'll get out of the tool.
Right. Okay, Jeffrey, I know there's a few more questions that came in advance. I guess we'll go to the next one. Good conversation.
Yep. Do you agree that creating multiple customized versions of our resumes that focus in on different key areas of our skill sets or work experience is an effective way to generate increased interest in our qualifications for a specific job? Well, the short answer is yes, right? Almost all companies use an applicant tracking system, an ATS, and it scans for very specific keywords. So on top of that, like I would say maybe in the past decade, yeah, it has sometimes, like especially earlier in the decade, that it was quite a hassle to have to create so many different versions of your resume, right? You're applying to 100 companies. Does that mean you need to create 50 variants? Because maybe every company is so different in a different industry, a different vertical. And so, but nowadays, I would say that shouldn't really be an excuse anymore. And so, of course, using AI, you can keep a master resume of all of your expertise, all of your jobs, all of your skills. You could even go crazy as to still include the clubs and hobbies, maybe from back in the olden days, just as part of your master copy of your resume. But then using AI, you can have it create targeted resumes to specific companies. Now, you can go as granular as you want, right? Maybe one per industry, maybe one per type of technology. You can go as crazy as you want, but keep it manageable, of course. And by having you create a targeted version of your resume, that will help because, well, there's been studies that, like, I think people spend, or hiring managers, they spend between 6 to 8 seconds looking over your resume. And so if you somehow pass the ATS and your resume gets on the hiring manager's desk, if it can't pass their manual ATS, their eyeballs and their brains, then you're as good as gone. So, and with the market how it is right now, it's only going to become more and more competitive. So now leveraging AI to create targeted resumes is more accessible than ever. So again, the short answer is yes, you should be creating multiple copies.
I'll just add a comment to that. That's great response, Jeffrey. That in addition to that, more broadly, when we do coaching and mentoring, we talk about building your network and relationships and so on. And with, you've got these systems screening your resumes, but finding some other way in through a person is also an important aspect of ongoing career search and so on, right? And there's ways to do that through LinkedIn, through the people you've met here. So finding someone that, hey, can get that resume to a hiring manager through the filters sometimes can pay dividends as well. Not all the time, but you'll hear me talk a lot about building your network early and often and staying in touch with that network and giving back is an important aspect of searching for internships, jobs, and so on.
Yeah, I just want to echo exactly what you just said, Jim. Right. So Jeffrey's right. If your resume makes it through that initial process, hiring managers just 6 to 8 seconds, unless you have had somebody reach out to that hiring manager or you have reached out on some level. That's going to increase the view time, if you will, that they put into the resume a lot. So building that network is absolutely critical. Customizing the resume to the job description is still a thing you need to do, but you can use AI to do it, just like Jeffrey said. The master resume is the way to go, and then using those AI tools to craft it to the individual job description is going to be really key.
I want to point out too, the last thing is you may have heard of maybe some people in the just people in general that maybe sometimes they'll fib a little bit on their resume. I would be very careful about that. Try not to fabricate anything that you're not confident in talking about, because to anyone interviewing you, it is very obvious whether you know what you're talking about or not. So simply reframe and emphasize what's actually important, not
Yeah,
fabricate.
that's a great point. Yeah, integrity is everything. And when I've interviewed people, if I sense there's anything misrepresented, the conversation's over very quickly. So that's a really good point.
Looks like Julian's hand is up.
Hi, quick question. I'm Julian Chang, class of 21 for computer science. Question for Jeffrey and LJ. Have you hired anyone or ever been involved in the hiring process? Just curious about this current question that we're talking about. Thank you.
Yes. What would you like to know? Or was that just a yes or no question?
Yeah, basically, like, what's your experience on like being on the hiring side of the hiring process? Do you have any experience with that?
We'll say in today's day and age, do not cheat, especially for software engineers. It is very easy to use any AI system to cheat. And it's very obvious when the camera is on where your eye is looking. So even if your solutions are somewhere else in the corner of a screen that can't be seen, using some other software that hides certain things from your screen being shared, you're putting it on a separate device that's completely separate on the corner of your desk. That's the most I would say that's the thing people need to be careful of the most nowadays. Just like what Jim said, if you're not genuine, you're not authentic, it's the conversation is over. Like the whole hour would be just wasted.
Yeah. Rich, you have comments?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if you want, I can talk about. I was on the interviewing board for like a big hiring spree our company went on last year, and I could talk about it a little bit. But we have like I think it's like three different kinds of interviews. So like one is coding slash technical interviews. That's like the one I would do. There's also like sort of culture and fit type interview. And then there's like a sort of architecture slash design interview. So that's like more like a high level, like try to design like, this kind of system. But what would you do? And like usually like what we're not looking exactly for right answers, although those are nice, but like more just seeing like how the candidate like thinks through the problem, if they're like aware of like the different issues that are involved. And to your point, like we used HackerRank to evaluate candidates on coding problems, like algorithm problems. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, like like sometimes candidates will kind of struggle with it. You can actually like watch their process of writing the code and debugging it and fixing it. Other times, like the candidate will have the right answer. I will always ask them like questions about like how did they come up with the algorithm, like how does it work? And it is just so obvious when they didn't write it. Like they just can't explain, even if you didn't write it, like you need to be able to understand how it works and like why you write it that way and like what every piece of it does, or like you're gonna just stick out like a sore thumb. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I'm gonna. And it helps like for the technical interviews, like at least in our company, because of the hacker rank stuff, like there's a website called Leet Code that has like all of these kind of programming algorithm type questions that you might be asked like as part of the technical screening, and that's like really good to brush up on. Anyway, that's all. Thanks.
I want to add on to that. So that's perfect. Exactly. So there's coding, there's system design. And so I want to say an important thing is I would say anyone with the right mindset and time can most certainly grind leak code, hacker rank, and you can practice dozens, if not hundreds and thousands of questions. And maybe eventually, maybe one day it will click. But what you need to remember is in an interview, that you're just talking, pretend like you're talking with your coworker, where when you're asked a question to solve something, do not jump straight into the solution. That is almost always incorrect. Not saying that the answer is incorrect, but the mindset is incorrect. Where in the real world, you can't tell someone to go build a home, because what are the specs of the home, right? What are all the quirks, the caveats? Who is it catered to? So anyone can grind leak code and hacker rank. So again, is most importantly is pretend like they're your coworker, pretend like they're your friend, ask the questions, get all of the information before you even start or attempt to solve a problem. And that at the end of the day shows that you're actually exercising your mental thought process, and then also speaking out loud as well. I'm sure that whoever has been on the leak code grind or has watched videos or went online, you do have to speak your mind out loud whenever you code. That may not be as comfortable for a lot of people because you like to think of something in your head and just keep running it, keep testing it, and you don't like to talk out loud in case you might sound dumb. So in those cases, I would ask questions. Just because you ask questions does not mean you're weak. Asking questions means that you're actually curious and you genuinely want to know what is happening. Okay, I guess we can jump on to the next one. So how can we leverage the ever-expanding array of AI-driven tools to help enhance our job-seeking activities? This one's going to be a little similar, right, on the same theme of what we've talked about. But I would say first and foremost is don't overthink it. Right? You just start with any AI tool. And for anyone who has studied computer science or is an engineer right now, you've probably gotten asked the question over the past decades of what is the best programming language to learn? Well, there's no best language. There's the right tool for the right job, right? There's the right language for the right job. You don't go to Spain and start speaking French, although maybe some might know French, who knows? But what I'm trying to say is you just start with a tool and test it. See what all the fuss is about. Go watch some videos. Go, yeah, not Perl. Yeah, don't learn Perl. Don't learn Cobol. So start with any tool, right? The classic Chat GPT. That's an overall really well balanced large language model that anyone can start using. You could use the free tier, get started with it, and if you don't know what it can do, ask Chat GPT what can it do, and you would just test that over and over and over. You can try other tools as well. There's Claude, there's Google Gemini, there's Microsoft Copilot. The list literally goes on and on. And I didn't even get into local models yet, right? These are just remote public models that companies are providing to the mass. And so essentially is, the question is, how can you leverage it for yourself? Well, just pick any one of these tools that I just named off, start with it and see what it can do. And to keep on the same theme, I'll give you some examples right here, which is resume optimization, cover letter creation, maybe an interview preparer as well, and then maybe a job, some kind of job search strategist, right? And I put this example specifically in there for people who may want to pivot. So, like if I worked in retail management, what tech industry roles could my skills transfer to? Off the top of many people's heads, you're not going to know, right? There's so many positions and roles out there. And so when you ask AI for that type of career shift, maybe they'll come up with a customer success manager because you worked in retail management. Working in retail, customer relationships is number one. So if you're a customer success manager, where you manage the success of whatever product it is in the tech industry, you can help de-escalate issues for your customers. And so essentially, by asking AI, it can help you not just augment what you're doing now and take it to the next level, but also to shift around too.
Linjing, do you have anything to add to this? It's an interesting question. Any thoughts to add?
Yeah, my suggestion is if you know certain sector or niche that you really enjoy working on, go really, really deep. That's for example, like just be specific as much as possible. So for example, if you like fintech, so go deeper than that. That would be fintech, let's say payment system. If you really like working on a payment system, so if you specifically want to work on the payment infrastructure, and then go deeper than that, payment infrastructure, the storage section you really enjoy, go several layers deeper and really identify the current pain point. Let's say for a company or the industry common pain points, come up with your take on your solution and post it online, and then make yourself visible online. That will attract opportunities to you. Oftentimes, when we look for jobs, we often think that we need to knock on HR's doors. So that will make us become one of many in their eyes. But in reality, if you want to attract opportunities to you, you need to be the one in HR's eyes. So how are you going to be the one in HR's eyes? You need to set yourself up as experts. So I know that, if some of you just graduated from school, that sounds intimidating, but in reality, everybody has something to offer. You may have specific, like a niche or experience that no one has experienced before, and share that specific experience on LinkedIn, in your GitHub account, share that. And that will attract visibility and that will attract opportunity to you. Nowadays, HR is very, very active on LinkedIn. So when a job posted, so the hiring funnel usually is like they have applicants apply through their website, apply through LinkedIn, and the HR, they will actively actually search on LinkedIn. So they will put in their keywords like I'm looking for a Salesforce expert. So anyone that is ranked top at their search, HR will reach out and send a message to bring that candidate in. So you want to be that part of the funnel. So in order to be searched by HR, in order for your profile to be ranked higher, your profile needs to include a good amount of keywords. That's why go specific and be very, very deep in your niche will make you stand out in HR's eyes. So keep building your LinkedIn account and be visible.
Great, thank you.
Okay, next one then. So how much lead time should I give myself in today's job market if I'm interested in making a transition to a new job? Is it several months, over a year? Does it depend? Yeah, the short of it all is it does depend. And so I would say like generally, right, if you're ready to start to transition, I would say give yourself 6 to 12 months to start networking and also exploring as well. And my wife can attest to this, but basically your net worth is your net work, right? So you need to start networking at least 6 to 12 months before you're ready to transition. Now, when you're about ready to transition, and you've lined up something that you might be interested in, assume it might even take 3 to 6 months to land anything, because interviews nowadays are just so long. Everything's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds. And then sometimes you might be going through multiple interviews. So you got to delay a certain one. You're waiting for all the offer letters to come in. Some companies won't let you wait, some will. All that takes a very long time. Now, I would say don't feel like you have to be in a rush. Obviously, it depending on your situation, especially if you're currently employed, then you can be more selective. But there's like a couple of like key things to look out for. But then like one thing that may not cross by everyone's mind, right? So it's like, what is your total compensation? Like, how much are you getting paid overall? Like, how much is your package? Those are just like the numbers, right? But what matters after that is your future outlook and your growth, not just for yourself, but actually for the company as well. Because most of the people in the tech industry, they make their money through stock. So when you're part of a company, you get some shares. And if the company does well, your shares go up. And whenever you decide to cash out, there's all your money, right? NVIDIA for you. But so you don't want to join a company with no future outlook for yourself and or the company, because then you might have a good first year because everything is novel to you. But then you're going to realize very quickly by year 2, year 3, you might feel like you're stuck, and it's going to be harder for you to make the next jump. So when you're worrying about the next jump, you have to worry about the jump after that in case you get stuck. And so that's what I want to provide in terms of like value for like just looking for a job, right? 6 to 12 months, start networking, start exploring, 3 to 6 months from applying to landing anything, and then just make sure that the future outlook is good. And then I guess the last thing I'll end with is like, of course, there's many factors that play into this timeline. So it depends on the politics, right? Unfortunately, politics plays into this. So that might affect the industry health. That might affect the hiring cycles. Your seniority of your position may also impact how long it takes for you to get hired. Some companies will say you're overqualified. Some will say you're not qualified enough. So you got to find that sweet spot. And then geographic flexibility. So in today's world, everyone wants to work remote. Like, who doesn't want to work remote? But there's also a lot of companies that will say, ain't no way, not in my house. So if it's either you're willing to move or we're not even going to consider you. And then the last one is just like your career. So if you're just looking to progress to the next level, or are you looking to completely shift to a different track? That will also depend on, that will determine how long it takes for you to find a job. And then from there, I think I'll hand it over to my wife, Linjing, because she actually did recently just get a new job. So she can probably talk a little bit more about that too.
Okay. Yeah, reading this question, I sense a lot of stress. So I'm not sure what your current situation is. My suggestion is untangle your financial situation with job searching. So job searching itself is already very, very stressful. But if you tangle your financial situation with job searching, that will put your mind under a lot of stress. And when we are stressed, sometimes we are not thinking straight. So, sometimes you need to make a sacrifice. Like maybe you need to move back home with your mom, or try to keep your expense as low as possible in today's economy. And that will reduce a lot of stress. And with that, you will have some breathing room, and then you can think about, okay, what's my job searching strategy? So that would be my suggestion. And don't set a timeline on job searching. Once you set a timeline, you put that pressure on yourself, and then that will make your job searching process more miserable. You want to make it more enjoyable so that you can have more momentum and keep doing it. So that would be my suggestion. Find ways to enjoy the process. And yeah, so just don't give yourself a hard timeline. So take one step at a time. And don't forget that you have a full system here to support you. You have a Philip, you have a Jim, and the whole school here the whole ecosystem is here to support you. You are not fighting this by yourself. Reach out to friends, and then, alumni, we are here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, LJ. And for those current students, right, who may be approaching this question from a internship or co-op perspective, that's exactly what those things are for and why we require them at RPI for you to graduate now. We want you to have some form of work experience somewhere where you can start to ask these questions about what would be good for me. Oftentimes our students do a rotation, they get a return offer, and then they go to a different company because they want to see what a different experience is like. As long as you're networking and capitalizing on those internships and co-ops, every step you're taking in that direction, you're building on. And that's what we want to see. And that gives you a lot more options later on as well.
Great comments. I just had two things real quick. One is never, always keep your eyes open for what the market and opportunities. Even if you're happy in your current job, things are going well. If a recruiter reaches out, I always say never say no. You should always be exploring, because the flip side could happen. You never know when your company's going to go through something. So always be looking and keeping your eyes open. And if an opportunity comes along, great. The comment about networking, if anybody's interested in, gee, how do I build my network? Philip, I'm sure there are resources there at CCPD. I'm also happy to help. I've actually put together a little kind of tutorial on how do you go about building your network early in your career. So happy to be a resource along with Philip and his team.
Okay, that leads us into the next question then. So what are important things to do to progress into higher level roles, especially with competitive coworkers? I would say the first thing, first and foremost, what has worked for me in my role in my life is taking ownership. So when you say you're going to do something, see it to the end. If someone needs something done, or if you see something that should be done, but no one's saying anything, also take ownership. See it through to the end, because the last thing I want to see is someone talks about something, but no one does anything about it. And when someone does something about it, there's no result to hear about it either. So taking ownership for me personally is what I feel like has given me the most success. Now, that sounds generic, right? So it's like, well, if everyone's competitive and everyone's taking ownership, then what's the difference? So then that's where you kind of get into like the next thing, right? Like you want to be able to document and quantify your achievements. So if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Now, for like software, right? And it's like, oh, just because I wrote 50,000 lines of code and deleted 50,000 lines of code, does that mean I did nothing? Well, not really, right? Obviously, you did something. And so how you need to document and quantify that achievement is in those 50,000 lines of code, what business value did you provide? How did you push the business forward? What projects did you bring to completion? Because the project completed, what new clients did you onboard? So just because your code was a net zero doesn't mean you didn't do anything. And if you're not sure how to quantify your particular projects or achievements, again, look no further than your friend ChatGPT, right? Or whatever AI model you want to use. And then the next one would be becoming a subject matter expert. So this goes back to being T-shaped. You do have to be a subject matter expert in something in the tech industry. You want to be that go-to person. As Rich said earlier, right? Learn some things that are everlasting, maybe some networking, some system design. Those things are everlasting. And although they may be abstracted with software, frameworks, and fancy layers of code, the underlying technology is still somewhat the same. But if you're a subject matter expert in networking, it's going to be pretty hard to replace you, because that at the fundamental level is pretty much the same. Other things as well, I have a couple more, was like breaking out of your silo. Because when you find a job, or even in your current job, you're probably working very well and very cohesive with your existing team. But have you ever noticed the moment you break out of your team, communication breaks down? Maybe projects run slower because everyone's in different time zones, and also they have different priorities. So when you're asking them questions and they don't give you the response at the right rate, then you're going to be like, well, what's happening, right? So when you break out of your silo, you need to understand how you can use that as your advantage in terms of how you're doing cross-organization collaboration to bring the entire company success. And I always allude to this, right? The company success is your success. And even if you're at a company where you don't have shares in it because they didn't give you any, that's fine, because, well, you still want the company to do well, because if they're not doing well, you'll be laid off. So that's the alternative. I think I have one more thing, which is very, very common. especially for newer folks, which is, basically is whoever is the most quiet person in a Zoom meeting is usually the ones that will be overlooked. So if you join a Zoom meeting on an architecture review, you join a Zoom meeting for some team collaboration, you join a Zoom meeting for some company cultural ethics talk, and you're just sitting there in the corner and you're like, this is the worst thing. Like, I'm just going to do something else on the side. Sure, that's fine, right? I'm not going to say I never do anything on the side. I don't multitask. Of course, I do a little bit as well. But I also learned to understand which of these meetings is high priority and I need to pay attention, or I should. And when you are paying attention, you need to speak up with meaningful insight, because there's a lot of people that talk a lot, but they don't say much. And you don't want to be that person in these meetings. So you need to pay attention, provide valuable, insightful thoughts to prove that you paid attention and you're providing other ideas to challenge the status quo. So all of these things put together, in my opinion, is what's going to help you become a more competitive coworker. Although I don't want to say become a competitive coworker. You want to favor collaboration over competition. So, but that's what makes you stand out compared to other folks.
Linjing, anything to add to that?
That was a lot. I think I'm good. We have 2 more questions to go, and we have 4 minutes. So that's just a move forward.
Okay. And if
Okay.
we don't get to them, Jeffrey, if you've answered some of them in written form, maybe we make that available, or maybe we probably can't hang on much longer. Sounds good, Linjing.
Okay. So the second last question is, any advice for keeping up with new technology while maintaining time with family and preserving mental health? Well, you can't learn everything, right? So you got to focus on what's relevant to you and your life goal and your career or your life goals. So you just follow the generic 80-20 rule, right? Learn the 20% that delivers 80% of the value, and then you iterate on the remaining 20%. If you try to focus on 100%, not just in life, but also in like business, it's going to be very difficult to move anywhere, because if you're waiting for the 100% mark before you go take the next step, you're never going to get there. It's kind of like you're lying to yourself when you say, I'm ready for kids. And we don't have kids, so I can't attest to it. But I always hear people say, you can never really be prepared for kids. So I don't know if anyone here has kids and can attest to that.
I do, and they're in their 20s, and I'm still saying you can never be prepared for kids.
Okay.
Mine are right behind Jim. That is absolutely true.
They're always challenging you every step of the way, which makes things exciting. Okay.
Yeah. So learn that 20% that delivers 80% of value, and hopefully then your kids learn the remaining 20% in life. Set your boundaries, right? Block out your calendar. Set yourself on DND. I know it's very hard nowadays, but when you're on DND and you don't get that notification, maybe you still get a phantom vibrate. Like, it's going to happen, but eventually you have to start blocking some of that out. And then use AI as like this force multiplier. Maybe what you used to do that took you forever, leverage AI and you can get it done much more quickly. So then, and efficiently, so you can spend more time with your family. And the last thing I'll say about this is, you don't have to master every tool. So unfortunately, you're going to have to just let go of FOMO and just move on.
Hey, Jeffrey, great. Before we go to the last question, let's pause. I know we just have a couple minutes, and see if there are any questions directly from the group on the line here. And if we need to stay an extra minute or 2, maybe we can do that. So let's just open it up and see if there are other questions live or via chat. And part of this too is, this might be the start of something where it tees up a million questions that you have. I guess, Alexis, if there are more questions, can people somehow get them to you, and maybe offline or something we try to get responses? Or what would you suggest, Alexis, if people have additional questions after the call?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any additional questions, as I mentioned, or as it was mentioned, I'll send a follow-up email tomorrow, so you can always respond directly back to me, and I can funnel those questions on over to LJ and Jeffrey and Philip too.
Okay. All right, I
All
don't
right.
see any takers, so Jeffrey, maybe hit the last one. I'm not seeing any takers for any last minute questions. Thanks.
Sure. So the last question is, what should be my strategy if I want to consider to pursue a leadership or managerial role in this current market? The most important thing is right now is just because you're ready to become a leader or a manager, unfortunately, does not mean that there will always be room for it, right? That's the most important thing you have to understand. If your team or your company is simply not big enough, it doesn't make sense to have yet another manager managing no one or managing one person. So that's, you have to set your expectations for that, right? Consider the market, consider your company. But when you are ready for it, you don't need the title first in order to demonstrate it. And this goes for everything. You have to be like demonstrating the capabilities and the qualities before even getting the title. And then someone will know, but not just like anyone, right? You have to, as you're pursuing that track, you need a signal to let your manager know that that's what you want to pursue, so you can understand the bounds and capabilities of your division, your company. But once they know that you're interested and they're willing to help you out, start demonstrating it on day one. And again, don't talk a lot and say nothing, right? You don't want to become a wordsmither. I've met wordsmithers in my life, and those are the meetings where I just tune it out because it provides no value at all. So whatever you do, title is irrelevant. Make sure you provide valuable insight whenever you talk. Take initiatives for your team. Show up with solutions. Don't just go in the meetings, talk with your managers on your one-on-one, talk with your colleagues in your one-on-one or whoever it may be, and only provide problems. Also provide solutions to the problems, because everyone and their grandmothers can complain, but only a few know how to provide solutions. And so if you're providing the solution, be ready to take ownership, surprise, surprise, of that solution if your manager likes it or if it gets approved. So in that case, as you climb the ranks, there is no one that's going to set the path and pave the road and say, you know what, you're at this level. I think you should do these next 10 things to get to the next level. That's just not how it works. Some companies may have some job descriptions, responsibilities, roles, metrics that you have to hit. But at the end of the day, you determine your own fate. And so if you're not controlling it, someone else is going to. And when someone else does, that other competitive coworker is going to take your spot. And so the last thing I'll say here is, if you want to become be a leader or be a manager, your emotional intelligence is probably the most important, because you're not dealing with technical work anymore that quote unquote has no feelings. You're dealing with real people with lives, and you need to understand sometimes they're going to have a day off. And when that happens, do you pound it further in, or do you actually help them get over to the other side and do better, in their life, and then which would hopefully eventually translate better into, the job, the business, and everything.
That's great, Jeffrey. And Rich has put some really good comments in the chat as well. So have a look at those. And I would say, yeah, in my profession, when people were asking, I'd like to be a manager, first is understanding what are the expectations and what does that next level or leadership management do. And I agree with you 100%, Jeffrey. Just demonstrating that you are doing those and able to do those is a good path forward. Okay, well, we're a couple minutes over. This was great. Thank you so much, Lingjing, Jeffrey, Philip, for being our panel today. Alexis arranging this, as you always do. You do a great job setting these things up, and everybody else for participating. You'll be sharing contact information, Alexis, as well. And back to networking, for everybody, your network just expanded by at least a few on this call, and I'm happy to help out in whatever way I can. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thanks very much, everybody.
Do we want to take a group photo? So if anyone is okay with taking, the screenshots, and then Alexis can use it as a marketing picture, feel free to do.
Sure. That's a great point, Lingjing.
I
I'm
didn't
happy
know this was going to be part of it, LJ. I was dressed up, but
there we go. There we go. Everyone's on camera.
Yeah,
I
if
see
you want to
James
be
there.
on the
I know
camera.
James. Hey, James, how are you? I saw James and good to see you. Yeah, I'm good with it.
I'm doing all right.
Okay. And Alex, nice to meet you. Nice to see all these smiling faces.
Yeah,
So
that's
Alexis, will
great.
you do the honors? And I don't know how you get everybody on the screen. I'm sure you know how to work the technology to do
All right, everyone smile.
that.
Perfect.
Okay,
So
great.
Lingjing, I understand that because I think you've, by the way, connect with Lingjing on LinkedIn and the others here as well. And Lingjing posts a lot. I think you've done that. I haven't done this marketing myself, but great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, it will help boost up your LinkedIn profile.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
good. All right.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Have a good night.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Bye.
you.